ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ ප්‍රථම වරට SLT 4G වෙතින් දැන් Pure TV නරඹන්න. ඉදිරියටම ගෙන යන SLT 4G.
ලෙන්ගතුකම වැඩි කරගන්න ලව්ජු රුපියල් 50ට අඩු කළා.
මාමේ එන්න අපිට
Tonight, a day of respite. Sri Lanka's recovery rate jumps to highest since outbreak began, with no new cases reported today. One law for all. Archbishop says that despite Christian forgiveness, the law of the land must be upheld.
When we say we forgive, we understand that there is a human element, but there's a social law. The social law will have to take effect.
Circumstantial. Former MP Rishad Badiuddin says brothers' business links don't prove complicity in Easter attacks. Helping Hand. IMF Managing Director welcomes World Bank agreement to suspend debt servicing by world's poorest countries. All this and much more coming up on this Thursday, the 16th of April 2020.
හැටනමයයි අනුහත්තට SMS කර රුපියල් මිලියන 3ක මුල්තැන්ගේ උපකරණ දිනාගෙන අවුරුද්දෙම කුස්සිය ටයිම් සේව් කරගන්න.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9. I'm Shanella Fernando. Moving on to your top stories for tonight. Archbishop of Colombo, His Eminence Malcolm Cardinal Ranjit today thanked the government for its comprehensive investigation into the Easter Sunday attacks. Responding to media questions today, the Archbishop said that regardless of the Christian community's forgiveness of the attackers, the country's legal process still needs to be respected, with those responsible facing justice. The Cardinal announced that the commemoration program planned for the first anniversary of the Easter attacks in Sri Lanka will be curtailed and limited to a family-only event. Instead, he called on all Sri Lankans to observe 2-minute silence at 8:45 a.m. on the 21st in remembrance of the victims.
Even though we prepared an elaborate program for the commemoration of the first anniversary of the Easter Sunday bomb attack carried out on 21st April, in consideration of what is happening in the country, decided to cut down on what we had planned. What we are going to do is to simplify the matter to a family program. We want to make a special request to all our fellow citizens in Sri Lanka to join us in a simple commemoration of these people who are affected. That will be on 21st April at 8:45 in the morning when the first bomb blast took place at St. Anthony's Church, Kochikade. We would like to ask you all at home, at 8:40 we will be ringing the bells of the Catholic churches. We request all the other religious groups also, like the Buddhist temples, to ring the bells and then indicate the beginning of this small family commemoration. At 8:45, we would ask you to please observe 2 minutes silence at home as a mark of respect for all those who died. And then at 8:47, if it is possible to light a candle or light a oil lamp, say some prayers or chant some gathas at home and invoke blessings and merit on the people who have lost their life. To also those who are affected, we are with you. We are with you as we were with you all this time, and we will be with you in the future also to ensure that you obtain justice and your dignity is maintained. We would like to thank the government for the ongoing investigations. This attempt of the bomb attack was an attempt to destabilize Sri Lanka through a religious clash. If that clash was allowed, the situation of this country would have been in a terrible disaster. Therefore, it is important for us to find out who is responsible and to take action against such people. That is why we cannot put it under the carpet. We would stand by our people, and we would like all the authors behind this, those involved, those who supported, those who gave money, those who encouraged, punished. It's a matter of justice. But I must stress that it is not any action against any particular community. It is only against people who did wrong things. And if these people who do wrong things are Catholics, they also should be punished equally before the law, because there is no difference between Catholic or non-Catholic. Everybody responsible should be punished. So we want the government to proceed with the inquiries, but we don't want anyone to attribute to any particular community the responsibility in toto for this action by these misguided people. Forgiven in the sense we have a responsibility on our part towards the people who were affected by this bomb attack in a terrible way. Few cases of the entire family being wiped out happened also. These are situations which are humanly impossible to bear. When we say we forgive, we understand that there is a human element, but the human element is to be in the social setup. There is a social law. The social law will have to take effect. But whether we take revenge from them, the revengeful heart, that is what we should not do. Spiritually, we forgive them. Yes, that's true.
With 5 people being discharged after complete recoveries from COVID-19 today, Sri Lanka recorded its highest recovery rate so far, which stands at a 28.57%. Meanwhile, health authorities closed off the Nagalagam Vedya in Colombo today after the detection of COVID-19 patients in the area. Numerous residents who had contact with the patients were also identified and placed under self-quarantine. With 5 fresh cases of COVID-19 detected during the past 24 hours, the number of cases reported in the country rose to 238, with 166 among them being active cases. The number of patients under observation for suspected COVID-19 infection currently stands at 161. To date, 7 people have succumbed to the virus, while 68 have been discharged after a complete recovery. With 5 more patients being discharged today, the country's recovery rate has risen to 28.57% from yesterday's 26.8%, the highest so far. With the United States recording 7 new recoveries to yesterday's tally, the recovery rate marginally increased to 7.5% from yesterday's 6.3%. Even though European countries continue to show an increase in their recoveries in the United Kingdom remain unavailable for the 4th consecutive day. Meanwhile, a woman residing at Bandaranayakamawatha in Keselwatta Kotahena had reportedly called for medical assistance after developing a high temperature. Upon being examined by ambulance staff, the female along with her son were admitted to the Colombo National Hospital after exhibiting symptoms similar to that of COVID-19. Subsequent tests performed immediately afterwards had confirmed her as COVID-19 positive, but her son's test results came back negative for the virus. The patient had arrived in the country from India on the 12th of March along with her husband and son. She had subsequently registered with the Kotahena police on the 18th upon her arrival and underwent the mandatory self-quarantine process, which came to an end on the 2nd of April. What is most surprising was that she had contracted the virus 33 days after her arrival in the country. Health authorities have also taken measures to admit her husband, who suffers from underlying health conditions, as well as their younger son to hospital. Meanwhile, following the detection of a COVID-19 patient from Sekkuwatta in Nagalagam Vedya Thotalanga, who had come into contact with the COVID-19 patient in Suduvella Jayala while consuming illegal substances, measures were taken to isolate the Nagalagam Vedya area this morning. The duo had frequented the area on a number of occasions. Hence, measures were also taken to disinfect the area. Phlegm samples were also taken from area residents for testing purposes. Meanwhile, area residents in Sedavatta Vellampitiya informed health authorities of 2 individuals suspected to have arrived from the Nagalagam Vedya area. The duo had been provided with overnight accommodation by an area resident. After receiving the information, the location was examined by health authorities. Health officials took immediate action to self-quarantine the duo and the residents of the house who sheltered them. Meanwhile, biological samples of 51 people found to have been exposed to COVID-19 patients identified in isolated areas of China Fort and Pannila were obtained today for PCR tests to be conducted. In the meantime, biological samples of people who had direct contact with the COVID-19 patients detected in the Kula area in Anamaduwa were also taken today. An Indian national on duty aboard an international merchant ship was disembarked from the ship at the Colombo port and was admitted to the National Hospital due to ill health. Meanwhile, an attendant working in Ward 15 of the Chest Hospital in Valisara has recently been infected with COVID-19. A few days later, another junior employee of the same ward also tested positive. Accordingly, 4 nurses and 2 junior staff members of the ward were directed to a quarantine centre in Negombo yesterday. Although only the nurses were admitted to the centre, the 2 junior staff members were sent back to the hospital in an ambulance. Protesting the move, junior employees of the Chest Hospital refrained from reporting to work this morning. Arriving at the scene, hospital director Dr. Taufiq Mohammed states that he is unaware of the decision to not admit the junior staffers to the quarantine facility.
කොරෝනා වෛරසය පැතිරීම වළක්වන්න සබන් යොදා දෑත් සෝදන්න.
As the curfew was lifted in low-risk areas around the country, the government urged the public to limit their movements to necessary travel alone and reassured them that the main purpose of these measures is to ensure the well-being of the people at this critical stage of the outbreak.
The island-wide curfew was lifted at 6 a.m. this morning in the districts of Anuradhapura, Polonnaruwa, Nuwara, Matale, Kurunegala, Mana, Kirinochi, Mullaitivu, Vavonia, Trincomalee, Badiklo, Ampara, Galle, Matra, Hambantota, Badulla, Monaragala, Ratnapura and Galle and were imposed at 4 p.m. this afternoon. This 10-hour window allowed people to restock essential supplies and also helped traders to carry out regular economic activities. During this window, it was noticed how members of the public made their purchases of essentials and other goods while adhering to safety guidelines issued by the government. The maintaining of social distancing was not observed in some areas. However, at a time when the wearing of face masks has been made compulsory by the authorities, some traders were seen flouting precautions and not wearing protective masks. Further, even though the curfew was lifted, significantly less people were seen venturing out in public. During this period, public health inspectors at the Bandarwala Urban Council inspected some shops in the town. 2 such shops were ordered to close down as staff were seen engaged in their duties, sans face masks. In the meantime, public health inspectors in Ambalantota also instituted legal action against a wholesale and retail store for stocking expired food items. Meanwhile, officers of the Consumer Affairs Authority in the Ratnapura district conducted a raid to identify shops selling essential items at inflated prices. Elsewhere in the Gampa district, officials of the Consumer Affairs Authority inspected shops in the town of Ragama, Kedavalapitiya and Hendala based on information that expired food items were being sold. In the meantime, island-wide raids and inspections were conducted in order to nab suspects violating the curfew and misusing curfew permits. Following an announcement that the curfew reimposed in low-risk districts will continue until the 20th of this month, the government has said that any further lifting of the curfew will be announced after the 20th. The curfew for high-risk zones of Colombo, Kalutara, Gampa, Kandy, Puttalam and Jaffna districts will remain in place until further notice. The government has also urged the public to limit the purchases to essential items and stay indoors, avoiding unnecessary trips. Furthermore, the government stated that the sole purpose of these measures, including the imposing of curfew, is to ensure the well-being of the people during this critical phase and requested the public to bear such inconveniences in a responsible manner.
නිෂ්පාදිත දිනය කවදත් අලුත් වටවල තේ අරගන්න.
වටවල තේ ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ තේ එක.
Ambassadors of the US, UK, Canada, the European Union and Australia expressed appreciation of the efforts implemented by the government in its battle against the COVID-19 virus. These sentiments were expressed today during a meeting with the head of the Presidential Task Force on Essential Services, Basil Rajapaksa, held at Temple Trees today.
The Presidential Task Force on Essential Services met with the UN Children's Fund at Temple Trees last evening to discuss if Sri Lanka is capable of producing the protective gear required by medical staff. The head of the Presidential Task Force, Basil Rajapaksa, met with the ambassadors of the United States, the UK, the European Union, Australia and Canada today. They conveyed their appreciation towards Sri Lanka's efforts taken in curbing the spread of the virus and said that they would extend their fullest support to the country in the future. In the meantime, Minister of Tourism and Aviation Prasanna Ranatunga visited the Bandaranaike International Airport this morning. The minister explained the methods to be followed in inspecting arrivals into the country once normal airport operations commence.
මේ වෙනකොට විදේශ තානාපති කාර්යාල හරහා ඒ රටවල් වල ලංකාවට පැමිණෙන අයව ලේඛනගත කරලා තියෙනවා. ඉදිරියේදී අපි ගුවන්තොටුපොළ විවෘත කරන්න අපිට අවස්ථාව ලබා දුන්නායින් පස්සේ ඒ අයව ක්‍රමානුකූලව ලංකාවට ගේන්න ශ්‍රී ලංකා ගුවන් සමාගම ඇතුළු අනිත් ගුවන් සමාගමක අපි සාකච්ඡා කරලා තියෙනවා. ඒ අයට පැමිණීමේ හැකියාව උදා කරන්න අපිට පුළුවන් වෙනවා. මේ වෙනකොට සාකච්ඡා කරලා තියෙන්නේ පිටරටින් එන හැම කෙනෙක්වම එක ස්ථානයක නවත්තලා ඒ අයව පරීක්ෂණයකට ලක් කරලා ඒ පරීක්ෂණයෙන් පැය 6කින් පස්සේ ප්‍රතිඵල ආවයින් පස්සේ ඒ අයව නිදහස් කරන වැඩපිළිවෙලක් තමයි සාකච්ඡා කරමින් පවතින්නේ. ඒ කටයුත්ත උනත් ලෝක සෞඛ්‍ය සංවිධානය හා අපේ සෞඛ්‍ය අංශකගේ උපදෙස් පරිදි තමයි කටයුතු කරන්න වෙන්නේ.
Despite the Manning Market scheduled to recommence regular market activities tomorrow, the Manning Market Trade Association has decided to prolong the closure and open the market for the public on the 22nd of April.
මැනින් වෙළඳපොළ අවුරුදු වලින් පසුව 17 වෙනිදා විවෘත කිරීමට නියමිතව තිබුණත් අපි මේ මොහොතේ මැනින් මාකට් පොදු වෙළඳ සමිතිය තීරණය කරනු ලැබුවා මේ මාස 22 වන දින නැවතත් මැනින් වෙළඳපොළ විවෘත කිරීම සඳහා දීර්ඝ කරනු ලැබුවා ඊට හේතුව වශයෙන් අපි සඳහන් කරන්නේ ජනතාව වැඩි වශයෙන් ගැවසීම මැනින් වෙළඳපොළ තුල එයින් කොවිඩ් ආසාදනය වීම වැළැක්වීම සඳහා අපි මේ තීරණය ගනු ලැබුවා ඒ අනුව ලබන 22 වෙනිදා තමයි මැනින් වෙළඳපොළ විවෘත කිරීම සඳහා අපි තීරණය ගෙනු තිබෙන්නේ මැනින් මාකට් පොදු වෙළඳ සමිතිය.
Meanwhile, Alibaba founder Jack Ma donated 20,000 COVID-19 test kits to Sri Lanka. A delegation handed over the kits worth $129,000 to Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa today. Meanwhile, the Special Presidential Task Force for Essential Services announced that a loan amount up to Rs 500,000 will be granted for farmers of 36 crops under the new Comprehensive Rural Loan Scheme at an interest rate of 4%. The loans will be offered by state banks with a repayment period of 9 months.
The COVID-19 Healthcare and Social Security Fund has seen donations stream in from many sectors, including public and private sector organizations and members of the public, which has seen the fund grow to rupees 655 million rupees as of today, with the fund's focus on securing equipment and other requirements for the country's frontline healthcare and security staff, as well as helping vulnerable sections of the populace get through resulting difficulties of the lockdown. The generosity of everyday Sri Lankans wanting to help in any way they can is testament to the country's resilience and unity.
The government's COVID-19 Healthcare and Social Security Fund balance has reached a whopping 655 million rupees to date. The President's Media Division says that the fund has continued to receive donations from various private individuals and institutions. The Management Committee of the COVID-19 Healthcare and Social Security Fund, which met yesterday, discussed measures to be implemented through the fund. The main focus of the fund centers around the provision of medicine, medical research equipment, providing financial needs for health security facilities, ensuring the safety of healthcare staff and essential service providers, the provision of basic needs to children, women, low-income families, senior citizens, disabled persons, and other vulnerable groups. The fund is also tasked with the coordination with the World Health Organization, UNICEF, the UNDP, the World Bank, the Asian Development Bank, and other major development donors and agencies for the raising of funds. The management committee of the fund is headed by Governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, Professor W.D. Lakshman, with Chief Financial Officer of the Presidential Secretariat, Ravindra J. Vimalavira, functioning as the fund's secretary, along with 16 other members, consisting of secretaries to ministries and other heads of organizations.
The Ministry of Foreign Relations continues to look at ways and means of providing relief measures to stranded Sri Lankan migrant workers unable to return home. In the latest measure, the ministry announced that funds from the Sri Lanka Bureau of Foreign Employment's Workers Welfare Fund will be made available for all migrant workers regardless of their registration status with the Bureau. The funds will be supplement funds already allocated by the government through the Ministry for relief efforts carried out by Sri Lankan missions.
Sri Lankan diplomatic missions in the Middle East have reported that welfare measures for migrant workers have received an added boost this week following the decision by the Sri Lanka Bureau of Foreign Employment to make available resources from the Workers' Welfare Fund. The fund, which was originally confined to those registered with the Bureau, will now be available for all migrant workers irrespective of their registration status through units within Sri Lankan missions abroad in 16 stations. This is in addition to funds already allocated by the Foreign Ministry and services provided by missions in collaboration with local Sri Lankan associations and religious establishments across the world in 67 cities. The Foreign Ministry has also sought an additional allocation from the Treasury to meet the increasing needs of all overseas Sri Lankans presently amidst the COVID-19 outbreak, to increase the efforts of distribution of dry rations. This is to help overcome immediate difficulties experienced by migrants who are unable to return to Sri Lanka in view of the present closure of airports. These measures were the focus of a video conference held on Wednesday chaired by Foreign Secretary Ravinatha Ariyasinghe and attended by senior officials overseeing the region and with the ambassadors of Sri Lanka missions and consulates in the Middle East. Special emphasis was placed on addressing the increasing cases of unemployment, loss of contracts, non-extension of work permits, and halting of temporary freelance work, which have left sections of these workers in need of urgent assistance to maintain their basic living conditions, and also to ensure that their families back home are assisted where possible. The missions also reported to the ministry that in the case of those Sri Lankans who reach out for medical assistance on account of being suspected or having contracted the COVID-19 virus, immediate measures are being taken to direct them to local hospitals providing medical facilities and thereafter to be constantly monitored by the embassy officials.
Former MP Rishad Pathiuddin denied any involvement of his brother Riyaj with the Easter Sunday suicide bombers and labelled the allegations politically motivated. He made these comments to the media after recording a statement at the CID headquarters this morning in connection to a separate complaint against him.
Riyaj Pathiuddin, the brother of former parliamentarian Rishad Pathiuddin, was arrested last Tuesday along with 5 other suspects in Puttalam by a special CID team appointed by President Gotabaya Rajapaksa to investigate the Easter Sunday attacks.
පණිවිඩීන් මොහොමඩ් රියාඩ් බාදූර්දීන් යන සැකකරු ඍජුව සම්බන්ධතා පාත්‍රලා තියෙනවා එක් බෝම්බකරුවෙක් සමග ඒ වගේම තොරතුරු අනාවරණය වෙලා තියෙනවා එක් බෝම්බකරුවෙක් සමග බෝම්බ පිපිරීමට ආසන්න කාලයකදී එක්තරා ප්‍රසිද්ධ හෝටලයක එකට ඉඳලා සාකච්ඡා කරලා තියෙන බවට ඒ වගේම විශේෂ සුබ සාධන සමිති සමාගම් ඇති කරලා ඒ සමාගම් වල මේ බෝම්බකරුවන් එක්ක එකට නිලතල දරමින් කටයුතු කරලා තියෙනවා.
Meanwhile, former parliamentarian Rishad Pathiuddin arrived at the CID today at around 9:30 am to record a statement regarding an investigation with regards to a property dispute in Mannar. The former MP left the premises at 2 p.m. after recording a 4-hour statement.
දේශපාලන විරුද්ධ මතය තියෙන පිරිසක් මට විරුද්ධව දාපු චෝදනාව සම්බන්ධව පරීක්ෂණයට එන්න කියලා CID එකෙන් මට කියලා තිබුණා. ඒකට ආවා. මොකක්ද ඔබතුමාට විරුද්ධව තියෙන චෝදනාව? ඒවා ඔක්කොම අමූලික බොරු චෝදනාවල්. ඔබතුමාගේ සහෝදරයෙක් දැන් මේ වෙනුවට අත්අඩංගුවේ ඉන්නවා ප්‍රහාරයට සම්බන්ධයෙන්. මම ඇමතිවරයා නිසා මම දැන් විරුද්ධ පක්ෂයේ ඉන්න නිසා මගේ සහෝදරයා නිසා තමයි යාට මේ වගේ අසාධානයක් වුණේ. ඒ මගේ සහෝදරයා දුරකථනෙන් ඒ බෝම්බකාර ඉබ්‍රාහිම් කියන්නේ වැදගත් බිස්නස්මෑන් කෙනෙක්. පුතා ඉන්සාෆ් අහමඩ් කියන්නේ එයාත් ලංකාවම නම්බර් 1 එක්ස්පෝර්ටර් බිස්නස් එක්කාරයෙක්. ඒ මිනිසයා බෝම්බකාරයෙක් වෙයි කියලා අපි කවුද දන්නේ? බෝම්බ පුපුරන එනකන් කවුරුත් දන්නේ නැහැ. දැන් බෝම්බ පුපුරපු ඉන්සාෆ් අහමඩ්ගේ නෝනාත් කියනවා මමත් දැනගෙන හිටියේ නැහැ කියලා මගේ මාත්‍යා මේ වගේ වැරදි වැඩක් කරයි කියලා. එහෙම ඉන්නකොට මගේ සහෝදරයා හොඳම බිස්නස් කරන ව්‍යාපාරිකයා. ඒ මිනිසයා දුරකථනෙන් කතා කරලා තිනවා නම් යාට කෝල් එකක් එයාගෙන් ඇවිල්ලා තිනවා නම් ඉන්සාෆ් අහමඩ්ගෙන් ඇවිල්ලා තිනවා නම් ඒක අවුරුද්දක් ගියාට පසු ඇවිල්ලා එයා මේකට සම්බන්ධ වුණා කියලා කියනවා නම් අසාධාරණ වැඩක්. ඒ නිසා මේ පාස් කීරදා සිද්ධියට හොය එන ත්‍රස්තවාදයට මගේ සහෝදරයා හොම අපි කිසිම සම්බන්ධයක් නැහැ. දෙයියෝ ඉන්නවා. අපි පස් පාරක් ආගම කරනවා. අල්ලා දෙයියෝ ඉන්නවා.
More news on the other side of this break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. In more local news, the Samagi Janabalavege says that no election should be held at this moment, considering the prevailing situation in the country in the face of the spreading COVID-19 virus. However, former State Minister Thilanga Sumathipala stated that parliamentary elections should be held in order to bring stability to the country.
මේ වෙලාවේදී අපි පළමුවෙන්ම ජය ගන්න ඕන ඇත්තේ මේ කොරෝනා වෛරසය පරාජය කිරීම. ඒ නිසා අපි කල්පනා කරනවා මේ රෝගය පරාජය කිරීම වැදගත් නිසා මේ වෙලාවේදී මැතිවරණයක් කල් දැමීම සුදුසුයි කියලා අපි විශ්වාස කරනවා. විශේෂයෙන්ම ඒකට යන වියදම විශාල වියදමක් වැය වෙනවා වගේම ඒ ප්‍රතිපාදන මේ රටේ ජනතාවට අවශ්‍ය වෙනවා මේ වෙලාවේ. ආර්ථිකමය යුද්ධය ගැන අපි ඉස්සරහට හිතන්න ඕනේ. ඒ නිසා මේ අපේ කොරෝනා අරමුදල හැකි ප්‍රමාණයෙන් මුදල් වැඩි කිරීම සහ අපි අනවශ්‍ය වියදම් පාලනය කිරීම වැදගත්.
විපක්ෂයක් විදිහට මැතිවරණ වලට කොයි වෙලාවෙත් ලෑස්ති. නමුත් මැතිවරණ ප්‍රජාතන්ත්‍රවාදීව තියන්න අවශ්‍ය වටා පිටාව තියෙනවා. තාම මේ වසංගතේ ඉවර වෙන්නේ නැතුව ඇයි මේ කඩිමුඩියේ පාසල් අරින්න කල්පනා කරන්නේ? කරුණාකරලා රජයේ මේවා ගැන කල්පනා කරන්න.
මම විශේෂයෙන් සඳහන් කරන්න ඕනේ මැතිවරණ සම්බන්ධයෙන් ආණ්ඩුව පාර්ශ්වයන් කතා කරන්නේ නැහැ. ඒ නිසා ඊටම පැහැදිලිව කියන්න ඕනේ ආණ්ඩුව ප්‍රමුඛතාවය දීලා තින්නේ මේ කොවිඩ් වසංගතය හැකියක්මනින් කළමනාකරණය කරගෙන මේකට යොදවාගෙන අවශ්‍ය කටයුතු කරන්න.
දැන් මේ මැතිවරණ බියක් ඇති වෙලා තියෙනවා. ඒක අපිට කරන්න දෙයක් මැතිවරණ කොමසාරිස් මැතිවරණ තියෙන වෙලාවට තියයි.
ඉතින් මැතිවරණයක් තියන්න මොනවාද තියෙන බාධාක කියලා බලලා ඒ බාධාවන් වලට අපි මුහුණ දෙන්න ඕනේ. අපිට ඡන්දය පවත්වනකොට මැතිවරණ කොමසාරිස්තුමා විසික සාකච්ඡා කරලා පහසුකම් සපයලා යාරෙන් යාරේ ඈත ඉඳලා මැතිවරණයට අවශ්‍ය තියෙන කාමර ප්‍රමාණය මැදින් වැඩි කරන්න පුළුවන්. හමුදාවත් එක්ක එකතු වෙලා අපේ තැපැල් අංශ වලට පුළුවන් ලියුම් බෙදා හරින්න. කොරෝනා වෛරසය බෝ වෙන්න පුළුවන් අවස්ථාවන් කොම ඒවෙන් ඈත් වෙලා දැන් වෛද්‍යවරුන් වැඩ කරනවානේ. ඒ අවශ්‍ය ඇඳුම් ඇඳගෙන ගිහිල්ලා වැඩ කරනවා ලෙඩුත් එක්ක. ඉතින් ඒ වගේ වැඩ කරන්න සිද්ධ වෙනවා මැතිවරණ කොමසාරිස්ගේ නිලධාරීන් 10 15 දාන වැඩ කරලා මේක නොකරොත් වෙන ප්‍රශ්නේ තේරුම් ගන්න ඕනේ. මැතිවරණයක් පැවැත්වුවේ නැත්තම් වෙන ප්‍රශ්නේ මැතිවරණයක් නොපවත්වා තියෙන ප්‍රශ්නට වඩා විශාල ගැඹුරු ප්‍රශ්නයක්.
The Sri Lanka Navy has announced another successful major high seas drug bust concluded by the crew of its offshore patrol vessel SLNS Samudra. During the operation, a vessel loaded with a large consignment of ice and heroin about 548 nautical miles off Sri Lankan shores was tracked and intercepted. Accordingly, the drug-carrying vessel along with all its crew were brought to the Dikovita Fisheries Harbour yesterday. The Navy said the interception is a result of information received from suspects apprehended aboard another vessel seized on the high seas on 28th March. During a search of the vessel, the Navy recovered about 281 kilograms of heroin and 48 kg of crystal methamphetamine with a combined street value of over 3.27 billion rupees. Further investigations and legal action with regard to the seized vessel, suspects and consignment of drugs will be conducted by the Police Narcotics Bureau. More news on the other side of this break. Don't go away. Welcome back. In your business news, the International Monetary Fund has welcomed a debt relief agreement proposed by the World Bank and the Group of 20, which will suspend debt payments for the world's poorest countries starting from the 1st of May this year. IMF Managing Director Kristalina Georgieva also announced that the fund will look to triple its concessional financing to the poorest countries and is urgently seeking $18 billion in new resources for its poverty reduction schemes.
International Monetary Fund Managing Director Kristalina Georgieva said yesterday that the fund was deploying all of its existing resources and was looking to triple its concessional financing for the poorest countries in the world. Georgieva praised World Bank head David Malpass and the new G20 debt relief agreement, which suspends bilateral debt service payments by poor countries. In a statement to a meeting of G20 leaders, she also said the IMF was urgently seeking some 18 billion in new resources for the fund's Poverty Reduction and Growth Trust for poor countries and was exploring how the use of special drawing rights could aid this effort. Financial officials of the group of 20 major economies said on Wednesday they had agreed on a coordinated approach for a suspension of debt service payments for the world's poorest countries starting on May 1st until the end of the year. The decision to suspend both principal repayments and interest payments affects all the International Development Association countries that are currently on debt service to the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank, and all least developed countries as defined by the United Nations that are currently on any debt service to the IMF and the World Bank. The move is part of efforts to provide stimulus to the global economy amid the new coronavirus outbreak, which is pushing the global economy into the steepest downturn since the Great Depression.
The Sri Lankan rupee closed at around 194 rupees and 60 cents and 195 rupees and 10 cents in the one-week forward market today. This comes in the backdrop of the government seeking a facility from the International Monetary Fund. Meanwhile, bond yields fell as there were indicative spot rates based on the swap market, where wider forward premiums were appearing. Bond markets were active in morning trade and yield ended lower. A bond maturing on 15 December 2021 closed 7.75 to 95%. Further, bonds maturing on 1st May in 2020 closed at 7.65 to 80%, down from 7.75 to 85% yesterday. With that, we wrap up tonight's edition of First at 9. Thank you for joining. I'm Shanella Fernando. Good night.